Today, I'm going to simulate raising a Squirtle in real life. And by the end of this video, this tiny turtle will become a massive Blastoise with water cannons powerful enough to destroy buildings. But getting there, that's going to be harder than I thought. It all started with this egg. I found it washed up on the beach, partially buried in wet sand. It was blue, smooth, and warm to the touch, even though the water around it was ice cold. I didn't know what was inside, but something told me to take it home. I placed it in a shallow tank filled with salt water and kept the lights dim. For 3 days, nothing happened. I checked on it every few hours. Still nothing. But on the 4th morning, I saw it. A crack. Small. Zigzagging down the center of the shell. Then I heard a sound. A soft chirp. High-pitched, almost like a bird. The crack widened. Pieces of shell fell away. And then I saw it. A tiny blue head with huge, round eyes staring up at me. It was a baby turtle. But not a normal one. This was Squirtle. The little guy was weak. He stumbled out of the shell and immediately flopped onto his belly. I gently scooped him up. He fit perfectly in my palm. His skin was soft, almost rubbery, and his eyes blinked slowly as he looked around. I filled a small pool with fresh water and placed him inside. At first, he just floated there, bobbing up and down. But then his tail started moving, side to side, creating tiny ripples. He was learning to swim, and he was fast. Within minutes, he was zipping around the pool, chirping happily every time he surfaced for air. But I didn't know what would happen next. Squirtle needed food. I tried fish flakes. He ignored them. I tried lettuce. He sniffed it and swam away. Then I remembered something. Water-type Pokémon love seafood. So I chopped up some shrimp into tiny pieces and dropped them into the pool. His eyes lit up. He shot toward the food like a torpedo, chomped down on a piece, and gulped it down in one motion. He loved it. From that moment on, shrimp became his favorite meal. Feeding him became a routine. Every morning and every night, he'd wait by the surface, splashing the water with his tail until I came over. He was playful, innocent, and completely dependent on me. At night, he'd curl up in a corner of the tank, tuck his head into his shell, and fall asleep. His tail would stop moving. His breathing would slow. He looked so peaceful. But I knew he couldn't stay in this small tank forever. I decided to build him a custom environment, something that felt like home. I started with a large glass enclosure, about the size of a small room. I divided it into 3 zones. Zone 1, the deep pool. This was the main swimming area. Crystal clear water, about 4 feet deep, with smooth rocks at the bottom. I added a filter to keep the water clean and a heater to keep it warm. This was where Squirtle would spend most of his time. Zone 2, the beach. A sloped area of sand and pebbles where he could climb out of the water and rest. I placed flat rocks under a heat lamp so he could bask in the warmth. Water-type Pokémon still need to dry off sometimes. Zone 3, the waterfall. I built a small artificial waterfall that poured into the deep pool. The sound was soothing, and Squirtle loved swimming against the current. Kept him active, strong. When I placed him into his new home, he didn't move at first. He just stared. Then he dove underwater, explored every corner, swam through the waterfall, and climbed onto the beach. He chirped louder than ever. He loved it. That's when everything changed. One morning, I was watching him swim when I noticed something strange. Squirtle opened his mouth, and a tiny stream of water shot out. Not much, just a squirt, but it was enough to splash against the glass. He had just used water gun for the first time. Couldn't believe it. I grabbed a floating target and tossed it into the pool. He circled it, then fired another stream of water. It hit the target dead center. He was a natural. I started training him. Every day I'd set up different targets. Some close, some far, some moving. Squirtle got better and better. His aim improved. His water stream got stronger. He was learning. But then I made a huge mistake. I left the enclosure door open, just for a second. I turned around to grab more shrimp, and when I looked back, Squirtle was gone. Panicked, I checked the deep pool, the beach, the waterfall. Nothing. Then I heard splashing behind me. I turned and saw him. He had climbed out of the enclosure and was now in my backyard pond. But he wasn't alone. A wild Krabby had claimed that pond as its territory. Its claws snapped aggressively, each one the size of Squirtle's entire head, and it did not like intruders. The Krabby lunged forward, claws wide open, ready to grab. Squirtle dodged, barely. He fired a water gun, but it was too weak. The Krabby was twice his size and way more aggressive. He was in trouble. I ran toward the pond, but before I could reach him, something incredible happened. Squirtle's eyes glowed bright blue. The water around him started swirling. He opened his mouth, and this time, a massive jet of water blasted out. It hit the Krabby so hard, it was knocked backwards into the reeds. He had just learned hydro pump. The Krabby scrambled away, defeated. Squirtle stood in the shallow water, breathing hard but victorious. After that fight, everything changed. He grew, not slowly, fast. Within days, he doubled in size. His shell hardened, his tail thickened, his chirps turned into deeper, rumbling sounds. He was evolving. One night, I watched as his entire body glowed white. His shape shifted, his shell expanded, and when the light faded, he was no longer the tiny Squirtle I had raised. He was Wartortle now. His ears had grown into fluffy, wing-like flaps. His tail was now covered in soft fur and looked almost cloud-like. He looked older, wiser, stronger, and he moved with more confidence. I knew then that the tiny turtle I had hatched was becoming something unstoppable. Wartortle needed more space. I took him to a private lake I owned in the mountains. The water was deep, cold, and surrounded by forest. It was perfect. I released him into the lake, and he dove down immediately. I didn't see him for hours. I started to worry, but then he surfaced, holding a massive Magikarp in his jaws. He had been hunting. Out here, he faced real challenges. Wild Pidgeotto diving from above. A territorial Poliwrath that challenged him for control of the deeper waters. Harsh weather. But he adapted. He thrived. He even started protecting the lake. Smaller Pokémon like Goldeen and Psyduck would swim near him for safety. He became the guardian of this place. But I didn't know what would happen next. One day, I arrived at the lake and noticed something was wrong. The water was murky. The smaller Pokémon were hiding, and Wartortle was nowhere to be found. Then I saw it. A shadow beneath the surface. Huge, moving slowly. It was a Gyarados. Massive, angry, covered in blue scales that gleamed like armor. And it had invaded his lake. Wartortle surfaced on the opposite side, his eyes locked on the serpent. The Gyarados roared, and the sound echoed across the mountains. Water erupted around it as it thrashed, charged. Wartortle fired a hydro pump, but the Gyarados barely flinched. It slammed into him with its massive tail, sending him crashing into the rocks. He struggled to get up. He was breathing hard, injured. I thought it was over, but then his body started glowing again. This time, the light was blinding. His shape grew larger, wider. Two massive cannons erupted from his shell. His legs thickened like tree trunks. His fluffy tail shortened and became more powerful. When the glow faded, Blastoise stood where Wartortle once was. He turned toward the Gyarados and locked his cannons onto the target. The Gyarados charged again, roaring with fury. But this time, Blastoise didn't move. He braced himself, aimed both cannons forward, and fired. Twin streams of water, each powerful enough to shatter stone, blasted out with the force of a freight train. The impact hit the Gyarados square in the chest. The serpent roared in pain, twisted in the air, and crashed into the lake with a massive splash. It struggled for a moment, then retreated into the depths, defeated. The lake was silent. Blastoise stood victorious. His cannons steamed in the cold mountain air. I walked to the edge of the lake. He turned and looked at me, those same big, round eyes from when he was just a tiny Squirtle hatching from an egg. But now they belonged to a giant. I thought back to that first day, the tiny egg on the beach, the weak little turtle that couldn't even swim. And now, standing before me, was one of the most powerful Pokémon I'd ever seen. He had grown, evolved, survived, and protected everything he cared about. I placed my hand on his shell. It was rough, battle-worn, covered in scratches from the fight with Gyarados, but it was strong, unbreakable. Blastoise lowered his head and rumbled softly. A sound of trust, of friendship. This was never just a simulation. This was real. If you made it this far, thank you for watching this entire journey. From a Squirtle egg to a legendary Blastoise. If you want to see more real-life Pokemon simulations, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments which Pokemon I should raise next. See you in the next one.